Okay, I just love that part. But welcome to Our Eyes Touch and thank you for being here. Okay, today we are talking about GMOs. What are GMOs? The story on GMOs, and if GMOs are safe to eat. All right, GMO stands for genetically modified organisms. Let's break it down. Word by word, genetically refers to genes. Genes are made up of DNA, which is a set of instructions on how cells grow and develop. Second is modified. This implies that some changes or tweaks have been made. Lastly, we have the word organism. When it comes to GMOs, many people only think of crops, yet an organism isn't just a plant. It refers to all living things, including bacteria and fungi. Okay, with that in mind, GMOs are living beings that have had their genetic code changed in some way. While conventional breeding, which has been going on for centuries, involved mixing all of the genes from two different sources, producing a GMO is much more targeted. Rather than crossing two plants out in the field, they insert a gene or two into individual cells in a lab. Yet, as mentioned earlier, GM technology can also be used on microorganisms. For example, bacteria have been genetically modified to produce medicines that can cure diseases or vaccines that prevent them. A commonly used medicine that comes from genetically modified source is insulin, which is used to treat diabetes, but there are many others. Okay, now that we know what GMO is, what was the main reason for GMO crops? And most of the GMO crops grown today were developed to help farmers prevent crop loss. From these, most common traits found in GMO crops are resistance to insect damage and tolerance to herbicides. Okay, so what
So,
is herbicides? Is a substance that is toxic to plants. Basically, chemicals used to manipulate or control undesirable vegetation. So the question is, are GMO foods on the market safe to eat? Okay, there is no data to indicate that consumptions of GMOs is bad for the human body. Interesting. So if you decide not to eat genetically modified foods, here are some tips. Look for the USDA organic seal. Look for foods verified as GMO free. Avoid buying processed foods. Eat lots of fresh and frozen produce. Try dry grain. Shop at your local farmers markets. So these are some ways to avoid GMO foods. There are some places that have banned GMOs like Europe, Mexico, interesting, France. Now that we have more information about genetically modified organisms and food that we buy out of our grocery store, would it be safe to say, just because we don't have data that indicates that these things is harmful to the human health or body, is it really worth the risk later on? Or should we just stay at nature's table and do what's natural? Your body, your choice. Love you, love you, love you. See you next time. Bye. Mwah.